We're backpacking around Nepal for the next month. We've already started off with a 9-day hike to the Annapurna base camp in the Himalayas. But now it's time to head to a completely different region of the country. We're making our way to Chitwan National Park, where we're searching for wild rhinos and tigers. But first, I haven't explained how we ended up in Nepal. We'd been backpacking around southern Africa for a couple of months, and it kind of wasn't for us. We like travelling independently, on a budget and feeling safe, so we weren't really ticking those boxes, but we do hope to return in the future. So after a week of volunteering in Zimbabwe and being completely off-grid, we headed in a shared taxi to the nearest town, where we bought some mobile data and tried to figure out where to go next. We decided to leave Africa, so we hopped on a bus to the capital of Zimbabwe and caught a taxi to the airport, where we began searching for cheap flights anywhere in the world. We didn't really care where we went, we just wanted to visit somewhere that was easy to travel, safe and cheap. And we ended up picking Kathmandu in Nepal. So we had an 18-hour stopover in Nairobi, a 2-day stopover in Dubai where we were able to walk to our hotel at midnight and feel completely safe. And then we arrived in Kathmandu, the land of electricity cables, and a place where we could safely walk around at any time of day or night. So after our trek in the Himalayas, we're making our way to Chitwan National Park. The village we were staying in borders the national park, and many of the locals own elephants, which they keep in captivity until it's their time to work, and sadly they're putting 4 tourists on top of them. So instead of taking a jeep safari or a walk safari, people are paying to ride these elephants in the park, and it's really sad, so we strongly advise you against doing this. We actually visited this national park 10 years ago, and it was nice to see that not much had changed. Just like last time, we're opting for a walking safari, so we'll be searching for wild animals on foot, and our guides just have a stick to protect us from the animals. A short ride in a canoe took us across the river to the national park, and on the way we spotted our first rhino. This is the main reason why people come to this national park, to see these rhinos, but it's also home to tigers and sloth bears. After less than 5 minutes of walking, we spotted our first tiger prints.
Yeah. Wow, it's huge.
The national park has an elephant breeding centre, and they use these elephants to patrol the park and protect animals from being poached. We heard mixed reviews about the conditions that they live in. Apparently when they're not patrolling the park, they are just chained up and not living a good life. We didn't go to the breeding centre, so we only saw the elephants in the national park environment, where they were being bathed in the river, and walked down the tracks where they were eating bush and grass. And one time we were sitting down having a rest when the elephants were just grazing nearby, and this happened. The park was also home to thousands of leeches, and we constantly had to pull them off our legs. But it was all worth it for this moment when we discovered a rhino taking a bath in a stream. We were really close to him, so we had to be completely silent, as they have great hearing but terrible eyesight. So as long as he didn't see us, we would be safe, but we were prepared the whole time to run behind a tree in case he charged our way. After watching the rhino for about 30 minutes, something seemed to spook him, and he suddenly started charging up the riverbank. It was a pretty cool scene to witness though. After that very exciting experience, we continued our hike and happened to spot 2 more rhinos in the distance. On our way back, our guide was telling us stories about some of the scariest situations he's had as a guide in the park. He's had a rhino charge him, and there were no big trees around, so we went behind this thin tree and had to smack the rhino on its face to try and scare it off. It had a baby nearby that started running the other way, so the rhino followed it, and if it wasn't for that, he thinks he would be dead. Another time he was almost attacked by a sloth bear who was really aggressive, so he used his stick to smack on the floor to try and scare the thing off. Luckily the noise and him shouting seemed to work, and the animal ran away. The following day we hired some bikes and headed to the only buffer zone you're allowed to visit around the national park without a guide. And in theory, any of the wildlife can be here. There's no fences between the national park and the buffer zone. The journey there led us through some really rural villages, and it was so sweet seeing village life and the cute animals that all the locals had.
Oh, thank you.
And we had to stop to check out these men who were carving wooden rhinos from scratch. It was really impressive.
How is it?
To enter the buffer zone, we had to cross this river, which involved us carrying our bikes over.
Yeah? Are you stopping for a break in the boat?
We didn't end up seeing any wildlife in the buffer zone, but it was still a fun day out.
Any crocs?
Now it's time for us to catch a bus back to Kathmandu, and it's just 170 kilometers away, but the journey took 9 hours. We much prefer Pokhara to Kathmandu. It's just a bit too intense for us there, and every hotel we stayed in Kathmandu had cockroaches. But we still enjoyed checking out the sights, and after a month in Nepal, it's now time for us to fly to Thailand.